Another day, another disastrous pitch meeting. The animator lets out a heavy sigh as he unlocks the door to his house, all but tossing his bag to the ground when he enters the living room. He takes off his coat and leaves it where it fell, kicks off his shoes, and doesn't stop moving until he enters his bedroom. With all of the frustrated energy he has accumulated throughout this extremely tiresome day, he throws himself onto his bed with a groan. He grabs the closest pillow, shoves his face into it, and lets out a long, loud scream of disappointment. The day started off promising enough, with a meeting he was lucky to get. But as soon as the producer started checking his phone 5 minutes in, he knew the whole pursuit was doomed. He prepped meticulously, concept art, a binder full of episode pitches, and a flashy presentation to really showcase the, well, show. But after all that work, the producer, who barely gave him a single look the entire time, said that no one is looking to buy original shows right now. Remakes and existing intellectual property are really what the market is suited for at the moment. So he was sent back home with nothing but wounded pride and wasted time to show for all that hard work. If it was the only one this month, he might not feel so despondent. But the fact is, this was only the latest in a long series of letdowns. Even with previous successes under his belt and a stint on a successful show, no one is buying what he's selling. So what now? What's next? Tear the whole thing up and start over again? Order a pizza and stay in bed all weekend? Maybe he should go for a walk and clear his head. No, none of that sounds quite right. There's only one thing to do when his mood gets this bad. Sit down at the drafting table and get back to drawing. It's the only way to clear his head, leave it all on the page, and get a clean start tomorrow. Whatever else happens, he's always got his art, even if no one's buying it right now. He drags himself out of bed, orders that pizza for later, and slumps into his seat, waiting for inspiration to strike. He caps and uncaps his pen over and over again, but nothing comes to mind. With a heavy sigh, he draws a circle. That's something at least. Could be a head, maybe? He adds a line stretching down to form a body. 2 more strokes of the pen to make arms, and 2 longer strokes to make a pair of legs. There, a little faceless stick man. He scribbles a quick pair of eyes, but stops short of a mouth. He feels so voiceless right now, shouting into an industry determined to keep its ears plugged. Maybe this little stick figure is like him in that way. If the stick figure is him, then it's probably just as plagued with doubts as he is. So why not draw those doubts too? He grabs a black pen, scribbling in swathes of darkness all throughout the background. Some of them naturally take shape as he goes. A swarm of ravens delivering portents of doom, black cats weaving between the stick figure's legs. Some of the shapes are just black blobs with glowering red eyes. Others are phantom-like wisps. In the very back, looming over all of it, the animator sketches out a hulking reptilian figure, jaws open wide to expose its sharp, eager teeth. As he sits back and takes a look at his handiwork, the animator feels a pang of guilt over depriving the little stick man of self-expression. As one more touch, he adds a speech bubble next to the stick figure's head and scrawls the words, "Get me out of here." Just then, the doorbell rings. Oh, pizza's here. As his mind turns from artistic pursuits to the hungry growl in his stomach, he abandons the stick figure and all of his shadowy tormentors. He can always come back to it later. For now, he feels a sense of relief. The dark clouds have cleared from his mind, transferred onto the page. Next time he sits down, he'll be able to come up with something great. He just knows it. But for now, pizza and a bit of trashy reality television. After demolishing half of the pizza and a few episodes of some new wilderness survival competition show he's already forgotten the name of, the animator changes into his pajamas, brushes his teeth, and collapses back into bed. Everything will feel better in the morning. It always does. Or at least, it does most of the time. After a moment, he sinks into a deep, dreamless sleep. But rather than waking up to the chiming of his alarm clock, the animator wakes after only a few hours to the unmistakable feeling of being watched. He forces his heavy eyelids open, scanning the room as his heart races with the dread he can't put into words. There's no one in here. Nothing unusual except... Is that his stick figure drawing? It's leaning against the wall now. He left it flat on the table, right? As he squints at it in the darkness, he notices something strange. He can see the stick figure, but not the shadowy figures around it. The speech bubble is gone too. Wait, there's no paper. It's just his stick figure, standing, against the wall, as if it had been peeled off of the page and stuck there. Worrying it could be some kind of sleep paralysis, the man wiggles his toes and clenches his fists. He can move just fine, he's definitely awake. So, what's happening here? He's about to give up and try to go back to sleep, when the stick figure takes a step toward him, then another. As the animator watches in wide-eyed disbelief, the stick figure walks across the desk, coming to a stop at the very edge. The man flicks his lamp on, blinking as his eyes adjust to the sudden light. There's no denying it. The stick figure is standing there, staring at him with its wide, hand-drawn eyes. Suddenly, words appear next to the figure, identical in handwriting and color to the words he wrote in the speech bubble. "Hello, where am I?" The man blinks for a moment, trying to process it. After a moment, he answers, "You're in my room." "Why?" "Honestly, I don't really know." He shakes his head, rubbing at his eyes. When he opens them, there's new text waiting for him. "Where did I come from? Do you know? Is this really happening? This all feels completely insane." But those eyes are staring at him expectantly, and he feels like he needs to answer. I drew you on that paper back there." "You created me? Are you God?" The animator bursts out laughing at this. It's all just too absurd, too insane. "I'm definitely not God. I don't know what I am. Listen, I'm exhausted. I'm gonna try to get some sleep." "Oh, okay. Please don't let me stop you. I'll be here, I think. I don't really know how this all works." "Yeah. Good night." The animator switches off the lamp, rolls over, and after a bit of a struggle, manages to fall asleep again. Maybe this was all some really lucid dream, and when he wakes up in the morning, the stick figure will be back on the page where it belongs. The screech of the alarm jolts him from his slumber, and he reaches out to hit the snooze button. As he opens his eyes, he takes in the sight of the room, bathed in the fresh light of day. The previous night was bizarre, but it's all over now. Everything is back to normal. Wait. No, the stick figure is gone from the desk, but it isn't on the page either. In fact, the entire piece of paper, which once held yesterday's drawings, is blank. If it isn't here, then where the hell is it? He rushes downstairs, scanning the entire house for the sight of the stick figure. He spots it, standing on the kitchen counter, looking intently at the magnets on the refrigerator. When it sees him, it begins to speak again. Well, to manifest words next to its head. "Oh, there you are. I'm so glad you're back. I have so many questions. What am I? Why am I here? Oh, and what are these horrible voices? They keep saying the most terrifying things to me." The stick figure never gets an answer, as the shock of the encounter makes the animator's knees collapse. He slumps to the floor, completely overwhelmed. When he comes back to his senses, he makes a call to a local psychiatrist. Whatever's gone wrong with his brain, he's intent on fixing it. What this poor, troubled animator doesn't realize is that he is perfectly sane. He's just sharing his home with SCP-3052. SCP-3052 is a designation given to two separate entities, SCP-3052-1 and SCP-3052-2. SCP-3052-1 is a humanoid entity that best resembles a hand-drawn, and somewhat poorly drawn at that, copper-colored stick figure. There are two circular holes drawn in the entity's head, which appear to function as its eyes. Though SCP-3052-1 is believed to be two-dimensional, anyone facing the entity seems to perceive it as facing them directly, regardless of the angle or direction it is viewed from. Due to this effect, the exact dimensions of the entity have not yet been determined. The entity has been X-rayed, allowing for a better understanding of its physiology, and it has been found to lack both a skeletal structure and any organs. After this revelation, some samples were taken from SCP-3052-1's body and analyzed. These samples were found to consist of a mixture of spray paint, acrylic paint, and, strangely enough, human blood. Though SCP-3052-1 has no visible hands, its arms ending in flat pencil strokes like most stick figures do, it has proven itself capable of picking up, holding, and moving objects as if it did have hands. The figure has not shown or expressed a need for food or water. Even if it did, it is uncertain where that food or water would go, as the figure has no mouth that can be seen. As the lack of mouth might imply, The entity is not capable of speech or any other vocalizations. However, it is able to effectively communicate via words that manifest visually near its head and linger there for approximately 7 to 10 seconds at a time. These words are made up of the same substances as SCP-3052-1's body, and like the entity's body, they will face a viewer directly, no matter what angle they are viewed from. SCP-3052-1 is sparing in its communication, but has displayed a large vocabulary and intelligence on par with an average human adult. During its communications, the entity expressed that it was struggling with mental illnesses, including depression, anxiety, and mild schizophrenia. An initial intake session with the on-site psychologist confirmed these self-diagnoses and kickstarted SCP-3052-1's weekly therapy sessions. The anomalous effects of SCP-3052-1 extend beyond the obvious. It is a living stick figure, yes, but there is more to the story than that. Whenever the entity is photographed or recorded on video, additional subjects can be seen in the resulting photo or video footage. These subjects, which cannot be seen in person with the naked eye, are designated SCP-3052-2. These instances are black entities with vivid red eyes, composed in a similar hand-drawn manner to SCP-3052-1. The entities are often shapeless, appearing like a blob or shadow with red eyes, but they do occasionally take on the shapes of various animals, such as crows, cats, and a large unidentified reptile. These instances communicate in the same manner as SCP-3052-1, though their letters are black as opposed to copper. These instances do not attempt to communicate with anyone other than SCP-3052-1, and the communications are not exactly friendly. SCP-3052-2 has a habit of harassing, threatening, and otherwise verbally abusing SCP-3052-1. It tends to claim that the Foundation is planning to terminate SCP-3052-1, though there are, as far as I can tell, no Foundation plans for its termination. SCP-3052-1 rarely responds aside from a nod, but will occasionally voice agreement with SCP-3052-2. The SCP Foundation first discovered SCP-3052-1 on June 19th of a redacted year, when it was living in the home of an anonymous digital animator. The animator, thought to be the creator of SCP-3052-1, was found in his bedroom, where he had perished due to complications from his antipsychotic medication. Oddly enough, blood samples from the deceased animator did not match the blood found in the samples of SCP-3052-1's body. The origin of that blood is still unknown, and no DNA matches have been found so far. Due to its regular cooperation and compliance with the Foundation and its research, SCP-3052-1 has been given the ability to request items and amenities to boost its morale. All of the requests have been officially logged in its file. First, the entity asked for a blank journal and a pen, which it was given. Since then, the entity journals every day and shares its entries with the psychologist during their sessions. Next, it requested a television, a DVD player, and a selection of various DVDs. Most of these were animated comedies, though a wide variety of other genres were also represented. Wanting to spruce up its containment chamber, the entity requested a potted houseplant next. The request was granted, but there was an oversight. The entity had no way to water the plant. The plant quickly expired, plunging SCP-3052-1 into a guilt-ridden depressive episode. As a therapeutic measure, the entity was given a new houseplant and a watering can. This time, it was able to keep the plant alive, vastly improving its mood. So far, SCP-3052-1 has not requested anything else, but the ability to do so is still on the table. All of SCP-3052-1's conversations with its psychologist are taped, but most of the footage is kept private. Doctor-patient confidentiality still applies to living stick figures, as it turns out. There is one excerpt from a session that has been archived in the official file, however, which can offer a window into the entity's usual therapeutic process. The psychologist's identity has been redacted from the file, so for our purposes, I will simply refer to them as Dr. X. Dr. X began the session with a standard greeting. "How are you today?" SCP-3052-1 shrugged. "Kind of tired." Dr. X made a note of this, then continued. "Have you been having trouble sleeping?" SCP-3052-1 nodded. "I keep having the dreams." Dr. X made another note. Yes, you've told me about them. Have you written them down as I advised? SCP-3052-1 shook its head. I keep forgetting, sorry. Dr. X's expression was sympathetic, their tone of voice calm. There's no need to apologize, it's completely optional. Still, it might help. Do you still hear the voices? All the time. Do they sound like anyone you know? Dr. X asked. Again, SCP-3052-1 shrugged. I don't know a lot of people. What sort of things do they say? There was a long pause, during which SCP-3052-1 did not respond. Dr. X filled the silence. If you don't feel comfortable discussing it, that's... SCP-3052-1 cut them off, saying, They say you're going to kill me. Who is going to kill you? I'm not sure. Whoever works here, I guess. Dr. X made several notes, then spoke again. Do you believe we're going to kill you? There was another long pause. Then the response appeared next to SCP-3052-1's head. I don't know. Do you feel like you're in danger staying here? Sometimes. I see. Have you been experiencing any visual hallucinations? Like seeing things? Precisely. SCP-3052-1 shook its head. Not really, no. Nothing unusual or strange? I don't think so. I see. Dr. X made one more note. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss? After a moment, SCP-3052-1 said, My watering can's almost empty. Dr. X nodded. I'll let someone know. Following this session, Dr. X concluded that SCP-3052-1 is likely unable to see instances of SCP-3052-2 and perceives them as disembodied voices. If you are concerned about the watering can and the well-being of the plant, the can was refilled after the session. A little while later, SCP-3052-1 was seen watering the plant, which is currently thriving. There is one more addendum to the official file for SCP-3052 that I found to be notable. It is a transcript of a video that captured a conversation between SCP-3052-1 and SCP-3052-2. SCP-3052-1 was sitting at its desk in its containment chamber, staring at the wall of its cell. After about 45 seconds of inactivity, an instance of SCP-3052-2, in the shape of an unidentified large reptile, skulked into frame from the left. It stopped about 15 centimeters away from SCP-3052-1, who did not turn to look at it. It did, however, acknowledge its presence when the reptile began to speak. Just as the stick figure had described in its therapy session, the reptile warned of impending doom. They're going to kill you, you know. The figure responded simply, I know. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. You might as well just let them. You'd be doing the world an enormous favor. SCP-3052-1 shrugged. Yeah, probably. When SCP-3052-2 spoke again, the words appeared in rapid succession, as if the reptile was delivering an impassioned speech. It's your fault that you're in here. If you had just kept your mouth shut and not asked him any damn questions, this wouldn't be happening. Where am I? What are these voices? Are you God? There is no God, idiot. He's dead, remember? He's dead and you killed him. Just like that. All because you opened your stupid mouth. Now you're going to hell, and it's all your fault. After this, the entity sat in silence for about 20 seconds. After a moment, SCP-3052-2 broke the silence. I'm going away now. I can't stand looking at you. Then, SCP-3052-2 slowly moved out of frame, leaving the stick figure alone with its thoughts. SCP-3052-1 is currently kept in a standard humanoid containment chamber. The entity's containment is monitored constantly via video surveillance, which is manned by staff with Level 2 clearance or higher. SCP-3052-1 is granted one session per week with the on-site psychologist for the sake of maintaining its mental health. These sessions are also monitored via video surveillance by Level 2 staff or higher. Should the entity make any official requests, these must be directed to and approved by a staff member of Level 4 or higher. Speaking of requests, there have been proposals by members of the research team requesting experiments that would involve showing SCP-3052-1 recordings of SCP-3052-2 instances. These requests are currently pending approval. When SCP-3052-1 was caught on video being tormented by SCP-3052-2, The reptile spoke to the stick figure of God. I may be out of line here, this is just a hypothesis, but I believe it was possibly referring to that deceased animator, the one found in the same house where SCP-3052-1 was first discovered. If he did, in fact, create SCP-3052-1, and by extension, SCP-3052-2, then it would only make sense for his creations to view him as their god. Perhaps the appearance of SCP-3052-1 took a toll on the man's sanity, driving him to the edge until it cost him his life. Perhaps SCP-3052-2 is not a separate entity at all, but rather the manifestation of SCP-3052-1's guilty conscience. If that is the case, then it is entirely possible that continued therapy sessions will eradicate SCP-3052-2 altogether. Of course, I could be wrong. It's happened before. But the idea that SCP-3052-1 could eventually find some peace, a sense of safety and freedom from the guilt that follows it like a shadow, is an enticingly comforting one. After all, if even a two-dimensional living stick figure can heal from its trauma, cast off the yoke of shame and fear around its neck, and live a happier life, maybe there's hope for us all with our three-dimensional troubles. Or maybe not. But isn't it a nice thought just the same? Check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like SCP-1966, Sentient Body Scanner.